Let's Science is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
3, 2, 1.
We live in a universe of scientific wonders.
Every day, scientists are inching towards breakthroughs which can change our lives.
We're playing our small part in sharing these wonders with you.
That's why today is a fine day for science.
So let's science.
So Caroline, tell us about, now I hope I get this right, the Wollemi Pine. Did I get that right?
Yes, you got it right.
Tell us about this fascinating plant.
All right, so we usually do a bit of a science topic, a space topic, but today I'm going to do a bit about an ecology and a conservation topic today. So the reason why I want to talk about the Wollemi Pine is because I recently actually bought one for myself, a little baby one, and it's a tree that I've been wanting to buy for many years.
Can I call it a dinosaur tree?
They call it the dinosaur tree, yes.
Yes.
And I'm going to explain why. But the reason why I wanted to get this is because it's a fairly endangered plant, right? And I remember hearing about it a while ago, and then I actually saw it with my own eyes in our local botanical gardens in Berwick and then in Cranbourne, and I just fell in love with it. I thought, this is what it looks like. It's amazing. I need to have one. So eventually I managed to source one and I bought myself one.
Caroline, let me stop you there. Is there a plant that you don't need to have? Like when you see a plant, like every plant you see, it's like, I need to have that.
I need to have that. And especially if it's a native, I'm so in love with native plants that I have a lot of them in my garden, and I probably won't stop by them. Yep. Yes, I have so many. I just love them. I've seen
all of Caroline's plants. She loves them. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to. The thing is, I have to protect them from my chickens. That's all.
Yes, that's
Once
right.
they establish, it's okay, but until then, it's a bit of a fight. Anyway, so let me talk to you about the Wollemi Pine, and it is called the dinosaur tree. Its scientific name is called Wollemi nobilis. It's a rare evergreen member of the conifer family Auroceraceae. I'm sorry to all botanists if I got that wrong. It is the only member of its genus. They grow up to about 40 meters tall and become multi-stemmed with age, which makes them look amazing. Just a stunning tree.
It really is. It's a beautiful looking native tree, isn't it?
And it is prehistoric looking too.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
it really is prehistoric looking. I could imagine like a tall dinosaur, a herbivorous dinosaur, just having a munch on the leaves. Yes. There's a reason why they grew so tall, maybe to feed some dinosaurs. Anyway, the leaves are dark and strap-like. Its bark is reddish brown and it's spongy and has a bubbly appearance. These trees actually lived about 90 million years ago with the dinosaurs in the Cretaceous period. It's actually now called a living fossil. It is one of the oldest and rarest plants in the world, and they were actually thought to be extinct. In 1994, a conservationist or a park ranger in Wollemi National Park called David Noble took a couple of his other ranger mates, and actually I don't know if they were both rangers. I actually started reading a book about this last night, but anyway, he was abseiling.
Yes, you told me that you ordered a book about it too, didn't you?
Yes. Actually, if you want to read about the Wollemi Pine, it's called The Wollemi Pine by James Woodford, and I got it on Amazon. And it's a really good fill-out story about how it was found and everything. So yes, in 1994, David Noble and a couple of his mates were walking through the bush. They were avid bushwalkers and hikers and abseilers in the Wollemi National Park, which is in New South Wales.
Yep.
And in the Blue Mountains. So it's quite a popular area with the Three Sisters and all of that.
Yes.
And it's a protected area as well. So eventually they were walking around. Then they found somewhere called the Abseil, and they came across a gully full of unusual trees, and he'd never actually seen this tree before. Being a park ranger, he knew the area quite well and he knew all the vegetation, and he hadn't seen this tree before. There were less than 100 mature trees in this area, and they're thinking that these trees are hundreds to thousands of years old.
Wow.
Okay, They're quite well established. So David, he took some samples of his leaves, shoved it in his bum bag. That's what he had on him at the time. Little thing that you strap around your waist and put stuff in.
What's the actual name for that? In Australia, we call it a bum bag. It's like, I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. Somebody can tell us.
we have great names for things in Australia.
We do.
Yeah.
So it's that purse thing that you strap around your waist. It's got a zip and you put money in usual, but he had obviously other stuff in there. So he took it to some expert friends, botanist friends, who examined the samples. They had never seen this before either. So they only had them in the fossil record. Okay, so eventually some botanists, they kind of shared the specimen around to each other, and eventually they were able to identify the plant as the Wollemi Pine. And actually in the fossil record too, they have specimens of pollen of other plants who lived at the time, which are very similar, and they were also living in this kind of period as well. So they were able to kind of verify that yes, this is a plant that lived a very long time ago. So the site where this pine grows has actually been kept a secret. It's the only place known on Earth where it grows. So it's a very big gorge.
Yeah.
Yes. And it is hard to get to. And the reason why it is protected is because it's very easy for people who are walking through the area to carry diseases on their shoes, for example, and they could easily get infected and wipe out the whole population. Also, people lovingly and by accident may damage the plants, and whatever, may take a sample or whatever people do when they love something.
Yeah, I'll take a piece of that. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And the good thing is you don't need to go and get a piece for yourself because they have been propagated successfully.
Yes. Yep.
So as I mentioned, that I managed to buy a plant, and this plant originated from this Wollemi population, which is pretty cool. So you can actually buy the plant from nurseries in Australia. I found a local one near me. I forgot where it was, but it's not that far away. I actually bought it online. And I bought the very smallest one because they are not cheap. You can buy very large ones, and it just gets very expensive. But it's all worth it because you can become involved in preserving the population and encouraging it to grow and increasing the population as well. So this population of plants actually came close to being burnt in the Black Summer fires in 2019. So in 2019, there were extensive fires in New South Wales, a little bit in Victoria. Did it go up to Queensland? I can't remember.
I think usually if it's in New South Wales, it'll get to Queensland. Yeah.
So they were really huge. And actually a lot of the Wollemi Park was burnt, unfortunately. And this is really unusual because it is, there's a lot of ferns. It's usually quite moist. It's a really unusual event. So conservationists actually got together and they were able to protect the population. So they moistened the area with water through an irrigation system. So that's been put there now. There's a permanent irrigation system. And during the fires, they actually dropped with helicopters fire retardant in the area, and the fire actually did reach the population, but because of these measures the plants didn't die. They were preserved. There are images. You can look this up on YouTube, and there are news clips of when this happened, and there's vision of the fires getting to the plants, but luckily the fires did not go up the trunks and burn the trees as you would normally expect. So without those protection measures, these trees would have been wiped out. This beautiful population, rare, thousands of years old trees,
Big sigh of relief.
Yes, exactly. It's thought that these pines used to be more prevalent, perhaps when the temperature of the area was cooler, of everywhere in Australia was cooler. The climate's become hotter and drier. If you live in Australia, you know how hot it can get here in summer. It's very dry on occasion.
Not like that right now, but we know.
No, we're in La Nina at the moment. But when it's the other way around, it gets very, very dry. And they think that past fires may have contributed to reducing the population a bit as well. In the gorge where these pines live, the area is very cool and moist, and it's just ideal for them to live. It is a deep canyon, and there's a lot of other native vegetation that is doing well over there as well. So conservationists at the park have propagated and maintained 3 copies of each of these plants, and they grow them in their nurseries. They're also being planted in wild locations to try and replicate the population in the wild.
Awesome.
The great thing about this work is that it's also being applied to other species of plants which may have reduced in population as well. Yeah, so the work that these guys are doing is also helping other species of plants. And I've kind of got the bug. I want to see if there are other plants out there that are native and are, threatened as well. So, and through prehistoric or even just threatened, because, threatened, through if we just buy some of these plants, it's not like an animal. I mean, I wish I could buy a koala and have it, but you just can't do it.
I bet you could every animal you could.
I would have every endangered species here and look after them. But with plants, with plants, I mean, they're native and you can grow them and keep them at home, and you are ensuring future generations, because they don't just have to breed, naturally. You can propagate them and make more plants. And actually, Lindsay, I was thinking when my plant grows larger, I'll make you I looked on the video on how to propagate, and it's not that hard.
That was my question.
Yes.
So I was about to ask you, so for everyone who knows, I go to your house and you've got a whole bunch of natives, and you'll go, you can have this. You just like rip a piece off of this native and that native. And now we've got some growing, in our little pergola area there as well. So I was going to ask you, in terms of propagating a Wollemi, do you just rip a piece off, or is there a special technique that you have to do in this case?
Yeah, there is a technique. So what you do, you take, so the leaves grow, I don't know how to explain it. See, imagine a fern leaf. It's similar to that, but the leaves are quite strappy and thick, so they're not as fluffy as a fern. You just cut one of those off. You hold up the leaf, you cut some of the greenery down the bottom so you have a stem, and then you dip it into a hormone gel, and then you put it into a specialized mix. I think it's perlite and some potting mix, and you put it into a pot like that. Now the plant then has to keep very, very moist until it establishes, and you can cut a few leaves like that and hopefully you'll get something growing. It's not difficult, but you do have to take care. You
got to pay attention to it, don't you?
That's right.
Bit of TLC,
Exactly. It does need love. So you can there's like little planter, how you have a seedling box. So you've got the tray and then a lid on top, and you just keep it, they said 100% humidity, so it's got to be wet, basically.
Wet. Yes,
Yeah, and you leave a little bit of air, but it does have to be moist. And you can propagate it yourself and make some for your friends. So share the love. But
also helping to preserve, like you said before, just by you get 2 things. You get to preserve a plant that's endangered, so play your part. And you get to enjoy it as well, because that's
exactly.
You get to enjoy another beautiful plant amongst all the others.
That's right. And they are stunning. You have a plant that is prehistoric, prehistoric.
Has a story,
Has a story. It lived with the dinosaurs, was probably eaten by dinosaurs. And it's a beautiful plant. You can either grow it in your garden. Now, I would suggest if you have a very large garden, otherwise, because it's it can get very huge. Otherwise, it can be grown in a large pot, and you can pot it, say repot it every 10 years or so, and it'll be happy in there. So that will be what I'm doing, because I do not have a large garden. I do cram it full of plants as much as I can, but this one will be in a pot.
I would have joked that your backyard is turning into Jurassic Park, but it actually is now with the inclusion of this plant.
I have two little chickens who are practically dinosaurs.
Yeah, that's right. You've got
They're descended from the dinosaurs. They were little raptors.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. And they live up to their name of dinosaur, I tell you. So I just really love this plant, and we encourage anyone, especially in Australia where you can buy them, to get one and love it and enjoy it.
It's funny because we thought this was going to be a short segment on plants. Look how excited we got about it.
Well, it's true, isn't it? I mean, there's so much to talk about with this plant, and you could just keep going and going about it.
Think about it. Last episode, we talked about the wonder of the James Webb Space Telescope and how amazing those images are. Now we're talking about the wonder of this amazing prehistoric plant. This is the beauty of science, isn't it? It is.
Yeah. There's so much science out there about everything. From the very amazing and mind-blowing of space to the small but beautiful and still biologically significant scientific plant.
Yes, yeah. It's the amazement, I think, and the wonder of creation again, but on a, like you said, on a smaller level. But in a way, again, thinking that you could touch a plant that existed in the times of dinosaurs, or whose earlier versions of it did, at least anyway. But it comes from a prehistoric place and it survived that long. Yeah. And it has a story too. It was discovered. There's a secret place that we can't go to, where so it has a story as well, which is, I think, quite amazing. And that's the beauty of science, giving us the ability to understand the story of this thing rather than go, oh, look, there's another plant.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's Science is brought to you by StarQuest Media and is a fortnightly podcast that brings you the scientific wonders of our universe from a distinctly Catholic point of view. For more from Caroline, Lindsay, and friends, listen to the StarQuest show, Catholics of Oz. Find links from today's show at sqpn.com/science and find the Catholics of Oz at sqpn.com/Oz. Be sure to follow the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Play, wherever you can find podcasts, or on the SQPN YouTube channel. The generous donations of our patrons at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue Let's Science and all the shows at StarQuest, which makes our nonprofit mission possible. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Join us next time for more scientific wonders, and thank you for listening to Let's Science on StarQuest.